All right. Bill and I are here, and we have a special guest, Alyssa Gertler, who is now the Clatsop County Housing Manager. She was here in a different role about a year ago, just 3 weeks after she started that role, I believe. Yeah. Now we have her in a role that I think is actually a lot better, particularly for Seaside itself. So we have an update on Seaside as well as other Clatsop County housing projects. Alyssa, please.
Thank you. Where do you want me?
Right up here. Put the mic down and just talk right into his little green light on.
All right. Who do I say next slide to? You?
Oh,
You?
I think he's got the slides going.
Okay.
Bill will keep up.
Well, it is nice to actually be here with you guys again, and I have an amazing PowerPoint as we have spent all this time getting ready for it. So with that, I would like to move to the next slide. So my job at Clatsop County is a new position that was created by the county manager to help build capacity for really all of the cities and the county itself to just produce affordable housing across the board in recognition of all the needs that this county faces, both in housing and in homelessness, and just recognizing that all the cities are quite busy doing their city business, and there is a need for additional capacity at every level of housing production, whether it's affordable housing or market rate, permits, land, all of the sort of soup to nuts that goes into creating housing. And so I've now been on this job about 60 days. And luckily I had the benefit of having been in the community for a year. So getting a little bit of a lay of the land and starting to learn, people like you are out there, and sort of the opportunity to build on the work that's already happening rather than, hi, here I am, let me start from scratch, right? And what I recognized is there's actually quite a bit of leadership in the cities and at the county and in the communities around solving this huge problem because it's connected to the economy, people's health, well-being, everything that you guys all know. So with that, I started this conversation with recognizing that quite a bit of work has already been done. In 2019, there was this report, the Clatsop County Housing Strategies Report. I think many of you, especially you guys who are involved in housing, are well aware of it. It took kind of a cursory look at our demographics, our needs, and started pointing us in a direction. It recommended 25 different actions, basically, and they were things like regulatory changes, policy changes, here's all the ways to raise taxes for housing. It did recommend that the county hire a housing staff person, so we can take credit for one of those things. And actually what has happened since 2019 is many of the cities actually have implemented many regulatory or policy changes to start facilitating housing. But we still have a lot of challenges to build on. And so in talking with the county commissioners, we talk about sort of the role of the leadership of elected officials, which is to sort of set the stage, identify the values. What do we really want in the county? What are we trying to make happen? And then what do we really want to see? What are the outcomes that we want? And then what, people like Jeff and I and staff then say, what actions can we do? And go from there. So next slide. So to sort of frame it up, Clatsop County is not a city. We're not a housing developer. We have kind of a key role as a county, but we have certain levers and tools that are more available to us than others. And so just to be cute, I put it in a graphic where they all start with P. But really, it works. And I'll go through each of these 7 Ps of housing. Next slide. Can you tell where I worked before? All these cute little infographics might take you back to my previous life in the metro area. So partnerships, this is actually really important, and I think you guys particularly here in Seaside are very well aware of the Regional Housing Task Force, especially since it meets in Seaside at the Bob Chisholm Center. And this is really a collection of the cities, both at the staff level, community development level, city manager level, but also elected officials from around the county to just work together and collaborate on shared issues of affordable housing. And recently we have submitted a grant together to the state, to the Department of Land Conservation and Development, to do basically what we're calling like a housing inventory and assessment, building on that 2019 work, which recommended that we do additional work on buildable lands inventories, on infrastructure, on wetlands. And so trying to set that up and get that work going now that I have the capacity to help.
And dialing more into more specifics, because the 2019 study was kind of generic.
I agree that it was
Yeah.
generic. I think the recommendations were generic. I believe one of our colleagues pointed out if there's a certain page that actually refers to the city of Umatilla rather than Clatsop County.
I don't remember that.
And so, yes, there
Yeah.
are some areas where it made sense for us to get a deeper look. And again, we'll probably use a consultant hired by the state, but managed by us, and through the task force will serve as the steering committee for the grant. So,
When do you think that's going to be done?
well, we expect to hear about the grant award in about November, and so it's probably going to be, I would say, a 18-month process to do the whole thing. And we'll have a buildable lands inventory. We'll have what we're calling a housing supply inventory, so looking at sort of building conditions and also like income and demographics of what do we need, like for whom kind of situation, sort of the matching of the people to the housing stock, and then an inventory of all the infrastructure that we believe in Clatsop County is needed to facilitate housing production, and a price tag.
So maybe 2025.
Yeah, exactly. And then hopefully at that time, the state will then be ready to start making investments in things like infrastructure and other things through upcoming state actions. So one of the things I've been doing is just providing assistance to cities where additional expertise in housing is necessary. Jeff and I are working closely on the Seaside High School project that you guys have, and we're working on developing an RFP to attract a developer to do some housing there. And look forward to talking to you guys more about sort of what can happen on that site and how we can help.
That's better known here as the North 40 project.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. The North 40 of the North 40.
Yeah, the North 40.
Not Udi's, ours.
Not our piece, not Udi's piece.
I'll in future PowerPoints, I'm gonna call it the North 40 because I think that's actually a better name and catchy, and I could actually see it being like the name of the building or something.
Oh, we haven't come up with a name for it yet, so
I like that.
yeah.
Okay. Well, and there's other projects that need a good name. Like when are you guys gonna stop calling it the Red Lion? And
Yeah, true.
yeah. And then, so just on the other cities' assistance, I'm helping Astoria with their housing capacity analysis, dealing with the State Department of Land Conservation and Development. Because Astoria is 10,000 people or more, they have requirements that you guys don't have in terms of what they have to do with the state. And it takes a village. And then sort of the other group of partnerships that we're working on is around the homeless work and addressing homelessness. You guys, again, are very familiar with some of the issues that are going on and are playing a leadership role. Probably in early September is when the Columbia Inn homeless shelter is supposed to open in Astoria, and that'll provide 70 shelter beds, which is significant. You guys are going to have the Esperanza Village coming up. As part of the social service agency partnership, one of the things I'm doing is helping staff this, what's called the MAC group, multi-agency coordination. It's the group that was formed when the governor declared a state of emergency. So that's our emergency response group in the county. It has the county. You guys are actually participants. City of Seaside is in it. City of Astoria, Clatsop Behavioral Health, Clatsop Community Action, the Harbor, Helping Hands, Lifeboat Services, sort of that suite of partners all working in the homeless space.
And we're still just part of the 26 million. We have no allocation yet.
Well, that is a great point. We have been working at the county to sort of look at the numbers, and we recognize that there is sort of there's a misunderstanding of the problem that Clatsop County has and the size of the scale it has relative to the need. And so what I would say is, as you look at the numbers, and we're going to come out with a sort of a graphic that shows this, no matter how you slice it, if it's population, per capita, percentage, Clatsop County has the highest amount of homelessness in Oregon. We have 1% of the state's population, but we have 5% of the state's homeless population. Wow. And so if you actually allocated accordingly to what our actual need is, the governor would give us the $7.5 million we need to do the full plan. And so we're actually, you may have been watching on the news, other communities are talking about need for additional funding as well. We intend to ask the governor to respond to the need that we have in this county. And so I'll share with you when this document comes out that sort of shows the proportionate need. We have actually more homeless people just in raw numbers than Washington County in the metro area, than Clackamas County in the metro area. We're top 6 in just raw numbers. And if you go to percentage or per 1,000, we are number 1, most homeless people in the state.
So what you're saying is 1% of the Oregon population is homeless, 5% of that group is in.
Not exactly. I'm saying 1% of the population of Oregon lives in Clatsop County,
Oh, okay.
but 5% of the homeless population in Oregon lives in Clatsop County. So we are not receiving resources proportionate to who we're serving. And it's a significant problem that I'm hoping to address. And
What's that, any ballpark what that number is?
$8 million.
No, I mean the number of people.
Oh, it's about 1,000.
Really?
Just under 1,000. And if you want, like, I can show you the web links on the state website and all that. But we're going to put out an informational sheet that shares this information.
Right.
Next slide. So now we're on the P for policies. And of course, you guys are well aware that at the state level, there's been quite a bit of conversation between the governor and the legislature about housing. The session that just ended, they passed millions of dollars for housing. Some of it may be coming our way. The federal government is also throwing money out at housing, and we would like to bring some home to this county if we can. And then, as I've mentioned before, I'm a member of the Governor's Housing Production Advisory Council. It's 25 Oregonians who are basically supposed to come up with a list of recommendations to help the governor bring to the next legislative session to focus on housing. Her goal is 36,000 housing units per year need to be produced for the next 10 years for us to catch up. We're currently producing about 20,000 units a year in Oregon. And so this group is divided into 5 work groups: land availability, permitting, building codes, financing, and workforce. And so I'm on the land availability work group. As you can imagine, for Clatsop, that's a key thing. And I'm on the workforce shortages group because we also have similar issues around getting the trades here for people to actually work. We're making recommendations about infrastructure funding, about using public land for affordable housing production. And so I'm trying to represent the interests of Clatsop County at this statewide committee. And if any of you have thoughts or ideas about what should go on that table or what I need to say, I welcome that. There's really only one other person from anywhere on the coast on that committee from Lincoln County, and so we're trying to carry the weight of wetlands and infrastructure and tourism all by ourselves. Next slide. Now we're on the programs slide. I think you guys probably have seen, because this has been up for more than a year now, the Clatsop County Housing Dashboard. It's a website that the county has that kind of is a home for all of our information and activities regarding housing, but it also has a GIS map that's interactive where people can click on the housing development that's happening anywhere in the county. And thank you to your staff for actually responding to the need to keep it up to date, because not all the jurisdictions are, and a lot is happening quickly. So we're using permit data, and it's just a useful thing to keep track of what that is. We have a program around brownfields, and we're focusing it on housing. One of the sites we're looking at is the North 40 site. See, I learned. And hopefully that will come up uncomplicated, and we'll be able to move forward. We're also offering those resources to the Copeland Commons project, which is on Marine Drive in Astoria. You might know it as the Old Malternative. And so that's been bought by the Presbyterian Church, and that group is actually fundraising and working with a developer to turn that into affordable housing. The county also has ARPA pre-development funding. We've used our federal funds to help sort of close the gap on pre-development for key housing projects. So the county just awarded a little over 100 and some thousand to the Housing Authority to do that Owens Adair 2 in Astoria. This is another project that needs a name, the Clatsop Behavioral Health Kentucky Fried Chicken Project. We gotta rename that one because I don't think that's a good name for them. But they'll be probably coming in for some pre-development funding, as will Copeland Commons. So the county has a little bit of resources, and the best we can do to try to help everyone that needs it.
So that's still money the county has left from ARPA. Huh? Wow.
Yes, but this is the end of it. If we
It
find all
needs
these
to
3
be,
projects, that'll be it.
Right.
The ones that dare clear all the hurdles.
No, it's still in building permits. Next slide. And then just the projects that are on the table, trying to facilitate that. So the Owens project is underway. There's a picture of it. The Copeland Commons is underway. I'm going to change the slide so it doesn't say high school site anymore. You guys are well aware of the Red Lion site as well. And then I'm sure you've also heard of this Fort Point proposal that's happening in Warrenton for something like
Huge.
300 housing units of all different kinds, and this new build-to-rent model that...
Or 500 now.
Well, and what we've learned is they do not have the wastewater treatment capacity and have
Right.
a significant infrastructure issue. So this will be one of the projects we'll be working with them on. Next slide.
That's the one out by Fort Stevens.
Oh, yeah.
It's right next to the KOA there, yeah. And then production. So where else can we find places to get stuff built? We are looking at our county-owned properties right now. The county went out and said, here's all these surplus properties. Some sites were brought forward that maybe aren't as suitable for housing as the county originally thought. So we're doing a second lens of sort of housing suitability. What can be produced here? What's the cost? What's the benefit? And then hopefully we'll be able to put those out for RFP by the end of the year potentially. And some of them are really, frankly, small single-family sites where it might be suitable for a land trust kind of project or a smaller one-off. But frankly, we need all of those. And if somebody wants to do a single-family affordable, I think we want all kinds of housing here. We need it all. So this will be more to come on this as the evaluation continues.
So if they find some more in the city of Seaside, they'll come to us first?
You guys always have right of first refusal. And actually, one of our recommendations as we look at this is that it's better, frankly, to just work directly with cities than do it with a nonprofit or a developer, since you guys are the ones who have to sort of move it through any kind of process. And so
Good.
actually, the sites that are under evaluation, there's one in Gerhardt, a couple in Warrenton, a couple in Astoria. So you guys are off the hook for right now.
Off the hook.
Well, you have the one.
Yeah. Well, Jeff's been trying really hard to identify all of our sites, and
Yeah.
I assume you haven't found any that are county-owned other than the pieces next to the wetlands and such.
There were really three parcels in county that were in the city limits that they offered up.
Yeah.
The most developable one is the one that we're pushing through and
Right.
trying to make happen. The other two are right along the river, the creek, and they're full of wetlands, and there's not a lot of buildable area on them. But I will say last week, folks doing the phase one assessment were supposed to do their site visit for the phase one. So hopefully that report will be coming back soon, and we'll have some more
good.
information on that.
Great. Okay, next slide. So you talk about affordable housing, you talk about the buildings, you talk about the infrastructure. It's kind of important to remember that we're actually serving people. So I had to, go with another P there. But also this graphic is something that I'm hoping, I borrowed this from another area, but I think it's something that we want to do, which is kind of matching who we're serving with the different kinds of housing. So looking at people who have different kinds of income, recognizing that we have all of these kinds of folks in our county, and that it's not all just about the tools that are needed for affordable housing. We need to promote the market rate as well. We need home ownership. We need multifamily. We need all the different types, missing middle. And so just trying to match the tools with the people that we're serving rather than just thinking about it in terms of buildings and units. I have no idea why my throat is so sore. Anyway, next slide.
Before you go on, the numbers that are there in the blue, are those Clatsop County numbers?
No, I stole this. I borrowed this from another jurisdiction,
Okay.
and it's a couple years old. Actually, you can see at the bottom. I think it's 2018
Yeah.
numbers. But I just find this to be a compelling graphic because it
Well, it
matches
is, yeah, because it puts it all there and it makes it really easy to look and see. But if we could have the numbers we actually have to work with on there, it'd be even better.
That's my goal, is actually to produce one of these
Right.
for the county. And so I think it's
The county as a whole counted, or are individual cities counted?
it'll be interesting to see in terms of the data sources available, how we might be able to do that, right? A lot of this is census data, so
Right.
you would have to use it accordingly. But we could come up
Something
with
to think about,
something. Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually why that's a great suggestion. That's why I'm here. All right, next slide. Okay, so the last slide is the last P, which is potential, right? So now that I'm here, now that we're here, we have potential to do new things, make more money, bring more resources, get more projects done. And so that's it. Someone is calling me. My phone is not on silent, but it'll end in a second. Any questions or anything else you want to talk about? I'm sorry.
So the Columbia Inn, is that going to be for homeless, or is that going to be for families or mothers?
It's going to be
Yes.
a mixed population. It's right. It's serving people in homelessness. So whoever may be in homelessness, and so there's a mix of people fleeing domestic violence, people with disabilities, LGBTQ. There are some people being served by Helping Hands. So different populations will be served in that, and really, that's more than we have now. CCA is going to manage it in partnership with the harbor, are the two main managers of it, and so they'll have on-site staff that'll be there doing intake and then management. So
Term stay?
yeah, I think the target is like 30 to 60 days stay, and then try to get people into permanent housing.
And get them some social service, the right social service.
Yes, and that's CCA. That's what they do.
Right.
And, if Viviana were here, what she would say is, CCA has not operated a shelter before. This is actually kind of breaking new ground for the
Right.
county and breaking new ground for CCA.
Just like Esperanza Village. They haven't done that before either.
So
It's a model you can replicate across.
Yeah.
I hope so, too. And I think we'll learn along the way what did we learn from this one? What do we need next? Where are the gaps? Where are the opportunities? How do we serve people? One of the things I'm super interested in doing is this group that we have is, everybody sort of tracks folks differently. So they come into CCA, they got a software system. There's this thing that the feds require when you use federal money called HMIS. It's the Homeless Management Information System. If you go through Clatsop Behavioral Health, you're going to use Epic because it's a healthcare system, and the systems are not interoperable. And so with 1,000
Wow.
people, you can actually track people where they are in the system and try to not have them bounce around, but try to have an ability to follow them through as they get their needs met. And so this is a significant issue in jurisdictions all over, trying to share data between providers. But we are actually working with a platform that might allow us to share data, which I think will be a replicable
be
model
great.
for sure, and actually really allow us to serve people better.
Right.
So if you're 7 Ps, which one's the most challenging?
Well, I didn't put politics on there.
But that is a P. 8 Ps.
Yeah, they just keep coming. Really, the challenge is that we just don't have land here, and the land we have is so challenged. And we're not going to be putting up 10-story buildings. So
Or the county has lots of land. It's just not near anything.
right,
No infrastructure. So you can't do anything with it.
Water and power.
Yeah.
infrastructure is significant, and just
And-
what I've learned.
Yeah. And you have Warrenton that, has land, but they're maxed out on their sewer system already. And they've got to spend, what was it Andrew said the other day, $40 million or something on upgrades.
So do they charge development fees in Warrenton for just in
I
development?
think Warrenton does. Astoria is just talking about it now. I think Astoria is the only one that doesn't, right?
Warrenton has that very low tax rate.
And
All the commercial work going on, I think they would have a big pot.
Yeah, they have a challenging financial situation, I think,
Right.
in Warrenton.
yeah, the tax rate is abnormally low. So they don't collect much in property taxes.
Well, and you guys are also well aware of the sort of vacation rental second home situation where there's just empty stock sitting around, and sort of how that affects the ability to use land and building stock and supply. And so, what I've learned from my work on the state committee is all of the recreation communities, right, where we're impacted by tourism so significantly, where second homes, vacation rentals are such a big deal and then most of these places are also places with the sort of high natural resource value, right? There's a reason people come here for
Right.
tourism, right? It's the same in Hood River County. It's the same in Tillamook County. That there's just that's kind of the world we have to work with. And so I think that's the most challenging, is just sort of recognizing that. Yeah.
Any additional comments, Jeff?
No, but you touched on the system development charges, and we often, have those discussions. What are they? Why do we need them? Why do we have to have them? This is a prime reason right there to keep our infrastructure in as best shape as we possibly can with capacity. So when we have those opportunities to build capacity, we have the infrastructure in place or the funding source in place to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't take forever that way.
Yeah.
I just want.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's
Jeff's
great.
a great partner to work with. I just want to say he's really.
Everybody says.
Jeff kind of got thrown from the frying pan into the fire with this job, so yes, he's done a really good job.
Don't put him in charge of IT, and you're good.
Whoa.
That's my job. And
That's fine. We'll get Jordan here from now on to help with our meetings.
between us, the nerds will take over.
Can make sure we can get this thing up and running.
Planning nerds are just a different kind of nerd. It's okay. It's a different flavor.
Are you working? I would guess you probably talk with like TJ at Tillamook.
He
bit.
is leaving. Tillamook.
He's leaving.
Yes, he's going back to private practice. He's still working with developers in Tillamook, but he is no longer a county employee.
Wow.
But Tillamook is a great partner. They have great leadership there. They
Yeah.
have great capacity there.
Okay.
They have the similar challenges that we do.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, we are absolutely still partners. And actually, the partnership goes all the way down to Lincoln County, in that we're all trying to sort of lobby together and share resources with each other. And so they're pretty smart.
That's-
Clatsop County is kind of a leader in the state for these kind of programs.
We are now that you guys have me. And I will give my boss, Don, a lot of credit for doing as much as he possibly could with Clatsop County, sort of with the resources we have, with the opportunities, starting the task force, putting up the dashboard. Yes, I would say in the rural and recreational counties, we're absolutely leading the way. I think the partnership around homelessness and all the work you guys have been doing around that, I think shows the leadership of that. And that's not happening in all of the tourism counties, that's for sure.
So do you find the other larger counties like Multnomah and Washington County, do they have like a leader like you in the county?
Oh, they have 1 million people. They have quite a few people. And, I used to work at Metro, which was the 3-county government that passed the housing bond and the supportive housing services measure that basically did this regional homeless funding and regional housing development. So it forced a lot of leadership. But, what I often say is, like, if the city of Portland is not successful, then the region is not successful. It's just the way it goes. And right now, the city of Portland is not in a successful place. And so it is affecting, I think, everyone, the other 22 cities that are in that area.
Do they put together the teamwork that you have down here?
I mean, I'm impressed when I came here how well people in Clatsop County work together, coming from where I came from. And I think that's actually one of our greatest strengths for all of you guys who sit through the
there's
difficult-
your politics word. Yeah. Yeah.
this is for real though. I mean, I actually think what we lack in money, we make up for in sort of connections and
we have
relationship.
to. We don't have any choice.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah. We have to work together.
and it's working. I think,
Yeah.
like Esperanza Village is a great partnership of things that wouldn't have happened, and it'll make hopefully things better in Seaside.
Every little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for listening.
Thank
nice
you.
to see you guys.
Yeah.
Don't quit and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I just bought a house, if that helps.
Okay.
All right.
As my boss said, way to put your cards on the table.
Yeah.
Private practices and everything, it's kick.
That's about all I had. I did put a note down that HB 3442 did get signed on the 31st. For what it's worth, we kind of figured out ahead of time that we were going to be able to do what we wanted to do anyway, more or less. But this puts it into law, so I think that was good. And there will be no meeting next month because it'll be Labor Day. So you get another month off. Ever have anything you want to share, please do. And we'll see where we go from there. Okay. 6:42. We're adjourned.